At the end of this document, there was an image and it had no alt text, so it read as graphic unlabeled. There's links in the description at the bottom of this video that links to videos where I talk in image descriptions, but I would actually call this one possibly a short description, could be done in an alt text box. And again, to do that, you would do right click and then you would do format picture and go over to the appropriate alt text formatting, put in the title and the description. Now the description here, there's a lot of text, and again it depends on what do you want them to see. And I would also point out that this starts out reading example, and then it talks about a company has 800 full-time and 200 part-time employees. And so they don't reference the graphic and this explanation at the beginning. So the text you have that's talking about the graphic, maybe somehow type something in that links to, as shown in the graphic below, or however you want to link the text to that image. So check out the videos that show how to actually make this graphic, this image accessible. I want to point out also there's a lot of other images in these worksheets. Some would be a long description, some would not. So that's where I think the complexity comes in on converting these worksheets into accessible documents. There's a lot of graphics here that reference the calculator. And again, you don't have to describe every single detail. It's what are you trying to have, what do you want the students to know? And again, in the videos referenced in the description, the links there talk about how to deal with these image descriptions. And there's a variety in here, and this is probably where the most of the time would be spent with making these worksheets accessible. Now, making tables accessible, I'm going to use this example here on this worksheet where it just has two columns and there's only a column header. And so if you click on the table, and then if I go up to my menu up here, once I'm clicked on the table, then the design tab comes up and I have this header row is clicked, but first column is not. That's appropriate. We want header row to be the thing that keeps getting read in each cell. And this first row, we don't want to say that that's a lead header, like, 42, we don't want to say 42 systolic blood pressure is 130. There's not that connection. So we don't click first column. So this one looks fine. The only thing it looks like it's lacking is if I click on it and do a right click on, then if I go to find my my very slow computer, table properties, and then we go to the alt text tab, there's nothing there. So the screen reader, as I showed in the previous problems video, what happened was it will just show age, systolic blood pressure, which isn't so bad, but it just reads the first row. That's a little confusing. And so you want to describe the table. So the title could go along with the little description it has here. Age of a woman and her systolic blood pressure. And so now this is what will come up when they look up tables. So the alt text you always want to make sure is in there. Now this other table that I happened to find that was on another worksheet, it looks like, which is, I noticed is done in a lot of our math books, where when it's a two-column system, but it has no row headings, meaning that this, manganese and conductivity, that right there, the material goes with the conductivity. In this case, we want that connection, so having header row and first column checked is fine. However, this was created as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 column table. And so in this case, the column that it's treating as a header is just this first column. And so this manganese conductivity would also apply to the 10.40. So having it as a separated just with separation with a blank column is still going to mess up the heading. So in this case, even though it's longer, we'd still want it as a 2-column format for readability. Now, one of the things I can research is seeing how we can have it more in a compact form, because I know that wood waste paper and a lot of books treat the really long 2 columns this way. So that's something I'll look into, and if I find it, I'll put an additional link in the description box below. But for now, the way this is reading is actually pretty confusing on the screen reader. So what I would do to fix something like this is I would take this and I could add, it looks like I need to add about 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 rows. So I can always add the 15 rows just by adding in here. My computer's really slow, but I would add in the 15 rows, and then I could just copy the information from over there and put it down here, or cut it in this case. And then I would, after I copied all these 2 columns on the right, I would take and I would delete these 3 columns on the right so that it's just a 2-column table. And also on that previous table, I forgot to mention that we'd also want to put the alt text on there as well. Always the alt text, so it has a title. Now the table formatting that occurs randomly throughout the document, it looks like this one, they actually formatted all of their images. I used to do this as well until I found out that's not a good thing to do. Their decorative image and all of that. So all of this would have to be taken out of the table and take just the content out of the table. And in this case, if you took this image out, you'd want to right click and just say that's a decorative image on the alt text. But all of this would come out as text, and then you format with it with proper paragraph, not a bunch of spacing, right? We don't want it to read blank, blank, blank. And then I would also put image descriptions and properly connect the images of, do I want them to collect the first image to the first line, the second image to the second line, however it's supposed to be. Just keep thinking of it as a linear read, top to bottom, left to right. And so that way that the screen reader will read it, and it'll make sense to the student. So I've looked at, in the previous video, headings and formatting, and in this video we looked at images, equations, or images and tables. So in the next video, I want to talk about the equations and how we can make sure that all of those are accessible.